Good evening, Zimbabwe. You are listening to Studio 7 from the Voice of America on Tuesday, November 25th, 2014. And this is Live Talk. I'm Blessing Zulu.
And I'm Gibbs Dube.
And tonight on Live Talk, we are going to talk about gender-based violence.
To join the discussion, phone us directly at this number, 001-202-619-2077, and we'll call you back.
And as usual, Live Talk goes out to Zimbabwe on our 909 medium wave frequency and on the 4930, 5940 and 15455 kilohertz shortwave, Monday through Friday at 8:30 p.m.
And on the internet, you can find us at www.voazimbabwe.com, www.voashona.com, and www.voandevele.com.
Today we have the Orange Day. The Orange Day is the day which every 25th of each month is a day where we highlight issues on ending violence against women. So we wear orange, we color the city orange. So today this is how we started by launching the Orange Day so that each and every 25th of every month we highlight issues against gender-based violence.
Sibala amaphepha sibala indaba eziningi ezingulwa ezindlini ezinye zicina abantu besifa njalo amalanga la aqhakatheke kakhulu ukuthi abantu beyazi ukuthi ezindlini lapha hayi kuyafiwa
saka nasi sangathi nawo vakasiyana siyana kanti sitauro nemawindi mnongozozo noitwa kwamabhaskeninas sangathi nawo nasi tichitaura navo vachibatanawo nesu panyaya dzekupedza mhirizhonga kunyanya kuvadzimai nekune vanasikana.
Once again, thanks for joining us. You are listening to Studio 7 Live Talk. And tonight on Live Talk, we are talking about the 16 days of activism against gender violence.
The event is an international campaign that starts on November 25, advocating for the elimination of violence against women and ends on December 10, Human Rights Day. The campaign hopes to raise awareness about gender-based violence as a human rights issue at local, national, regional, and international level.
The United Nations is calling for what has been dubbed a call to orange your neighborhood, with people around the world displaying the color to symbolize hope for a future free from violence against women and girls.
What do you think about this issue? If you wish to join the show right now, phone us directly at this number, 001-202-619-2077, and we'll call you back. That number again is 001-202-619-2077. You can also send us a message on WhatsApp, and our number is 1-202-465-0318. That number again, 1-202-465-0318. Yeah, for it.
Gibbs nasi tinauti tinge tichitaura nezvemhirizhonga inonzi inoitwa kuvanhukadzi nevanasikana. Pane mazuva 16 kana kuti 16 days anenge achiitwa nepasi rose kukurudzira vanhu kuti vasaite mhirizhonga kumadzimai nevanhukadzi. Gibbs,
yebo kambe zulu kandaba lingalithola njani? Ngiyathemba ukuthi liyamuza ublessing lapho khona yebo mfowethu sakwamukela. Ngithemba ubele holiday enhle.
Aiwa, yanga yakanaka zoro, langa rakanaka zoro Gibbs.
Kumbo
zoro ramchana.
Ancho pele. So unati TS vile kuzwa.
Tichatawa.
Nakulokile mfowethu. Yes, zulu kandaba njengoba sikhuluma ke namhlanje sikhuluma ngelanga le-international what indifaka kuhle sibili. International Day against gender-based violence. So ilanga leli ngokuthi nxa kukhahlamezwa omama kulo into ezinjalo kumiswa kungabi khona phela. Kumele abantu bekhangela ukuthi kumele kwenziweni. Sizwile ke lapha ke blessing abantu bekhuluma sibili abaningi besithi ye bakhona abantu belokhu bekhahlamezwa omama. Ngesikhathi esiningi umama uyabe ngawonanga lutho, kumama nkazana wona ngwawo. Bapho ngubasukela nje kungela lutho babenze khona kwababenza khona. Kodwa ke nxa sokuchaya umkankaso onje kodwa kathi singakubeka njani eceleni ukuthi kusebenza abantu baphile kuhle phela abantu. Umama phela ngumnikazi wendlu phela antokazi. So nxa kunjalo singathini zulu kandaba? Ye ngena kuhlelo.
Of course, starting from last night, the iconic Empire State Building in New York and the United Nations headquarters were shining orange in light. And of course, in Times Square, one of the world's most visited tourist attractions, the Nasdaq and Reuters tower screens were also flashing the color along with anti-violence messages. Of course, this is something that is very significant, as you know, that in Zimbabwe, the problem of gender violence is still persisting, Gibbs.
Yeah, so in this issue concerning the orange color, you know, it says, the slogan says, orange your neighborhood. So it says, reach out to your neighbors, local stores, food sellers on the corner of your street, gas stations, local cinemas, barbers, schools, libraries, and post offices. And then project orange lights and hang orange flags onto local landmarks, tie orange ribbons where you are allowed, and organize local orange marches on this day. And this is to raise awareness about violence against women and discuss solutions that will work for your community. I think that's a great stride
That
towards
is
the elimination
indeed.
of this year.
I think we have our first guest, Gibbs. I think that should be Miss Gladys Changachirere, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes,
from
yes, you are
the
quite right.
Institute of this Institute for Young Women's Development, where she's the director there. Miss Changachirere, good evening.
Evening, Blessing, how are you?
We are doing fine, and thanks for joining us. Maybe Gibbs, you can fire away.
Now, let's get it right here. What did you do in Zimbabwe to mark this important day, Miss Changachirere?
Okay. I didn't know it's fine. I think the network.
I think we've got a very bad line there. I think the best thing is to call her back, maybe.
Not now.
Oh, okay.
I
So,
can't hear them right now.
okay, she can't hear us. She can't.
Yeah, I think we'll try to call her back. But for those of you who are just joining us, good evening. And this is Studio 7 Live Talk. And tonight on Live Talk, we are talking about gender violence. So we want to hear from you. Toda kunzwa kubva kwamuri vateereri kuti muri kuona sei nenyaya yemhirizhonga inenge ichiitwa kumadzimai nevanasikana. Pane nyaya dzakati wandei dzevarume vanenge vachitema madzimai avo kana nedemo chairo kuvauraya. Pane kurohwa kunoitwa nekushungurudzwa kunoitwa madzimai nevanasikana, zvinhu zvinotarisirwa kuti zvingafanire kunge zvisingaitwe muZimbabwe, asi zviri kuramba zvichiitika. Gibbs.
Ye ngizokuthiwa sesilo umama ke umemory lapha akumintroduce sizwe ke blessing ukuthi singathini.
Mrs. Memory Zonde Kachambwa, the executive director of the Women's Trust. Mrs. Kachambwa, good evening. Mrs. Kachambwa?
Yeah, we seem to have very serious problems, you know, with our lines. So I hope that we're going to rectify that problem technically. But as part of the 16 days of activism, Blessing, you know, organizations and activists are supposed to organize local events. You know, most of these local events can be maybe marches, marathons, panel discussions on radio and television. That's exactly what we're doing right now. And then you can have concerts, you can have film festivals, and generally they should orange their world, you know, with celebrities, the media, civil society organizations, and maybe to team up with the United Nations. There's got a lot of these events that are taking place, even in Zimbabwe, as we speak. But I think there's one kind of media platform where people can reach out, which is the social media.
Yeah.
You know, Facebook has got a lot of, you know, stuff that can be posted there so that people can link. I have seen that there are some pages that have been created by the UN. So where somebody can visit and post a message of their choice, or even your own kind of dress that is orange. You can post it there, even your video, all those kind of things. I think this helps in terms of public engagement.
Indeed. And of course, there was a report, of course, that was conducted, or a research by the United Nations. And the research carried out early this year says it was carried out by the UN Women. And it says that violence against women baseline study Zimbabwe 2013, it shows that emotional violence, Gibbs, is the most prevalent form of intimate partner violence, with a high 56% of the 3,326 women respondents reporting this form of violence in their lifetime. Emotional violence is not captured in police statistics. It is the silent death that women live with daily and which affects their agency, said Colleen Lowe Mona, the CEO of Gender Links, a Southern African NGO, which conducted the study with Zimbabwe's Ministry of Women's Affairs, Gender and Community Development, and Musasa, a local NGO that has worked on violence against women in Zimbabwe since 1988. And it says of the 6 countries in Southern Africa, that have conducted the VAW baseline study, Zimbabwe was the largest with 6,600 respondents. While Zimbabwe has a strong legal framework for addressing violence against women, and the study found that 50% of the respondents had knowledge of the country's Domestic Violence Act. The survey also shows high levels of underreporting, though people are aware that men will be breaking the law should they engage in this gender violence. Sometimes they don't go to the police to report.
Very interesting indeed, Blessing. I think we've got our first guest who is Mrs. Busisiwe Bebe, who is a gender activist and is in Bulawayo. Mrs. Bebe, good evening and welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. How are you?
Very fine. How's Bulawayo?
I'm not in Bulawayo today, but I hear that it's very hot.
Okay, where are you exactly?
I am in Harare.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Blessing, I think you can take it from there.
Now, Mrs. Bebe, of course, we are talking about gender violence. How prevalent is this still in Zimbabwe? Do you think there is a lot of awareness that is going on to ensure that this comes to an end?
I believe there is a lot of awareness, and over the years we've been seeing it even appearing more in the media. But the situation is such that it is difficult to get totally rid of it. Actually, the cases are becoming worse and more gruesome. If you noted in the media, we had a man beheading his wife. We've had women being stabbed. We've had gruesome cases of gender-based violence in the last few months, and this just shows you how, even though the message is out there, how people are being encouraged to deal with their issues in a more humane manner. I think the structural situation in our country is making it difficult for people to deal with their problem in a less violent way. For example, the economic situation, the breakdown of the family structure, the socio-cultural situation is such that people will end up resorting to violence to solve their problems.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bebe, of course, raising very key points there, Gibbs, yes, that the economic crisis might also be contributing to this violence. As you know, if I'm a student of Dambudzo Marechera in one of his great works, the House of Hunger, he was, writing about the colonial system in that men were oppressed by their white colonial masters, yes, at work. Yeah. And then when they go home, they do the same. They met violence against women, and the women will tend to the children, and the children will tend to cats and dogs, yes, the domestic animals. So it became a vicious cycle of violence. So, I mean, she's also pointing to that. And also, of course, we have had men hacking women to death. Yes. These are some of the cases that have been reported extensively even this year. Gibbs.
Yeah, masisikhuluma ke nkosikazi Bebe khona ukuthi umkonomi kumbe ngithi umnotho welizwe kawumanga kuhle. So ke abantu bagcina bejana sibile ezindlini la siyakwazi. Kodwa kule indlela yini ongayenziwa ukuthi kungagcini kunjalo. Kube ngazani kuba lula nje kancane. Kungenzwani khona pho ke nkosikazi Bebe?
Mina ngibona ngani into zangikhona sezibuyezeleka kakhulu, seziziningi kakhulu, njengoba ngitshilo ukuthi imuli kayisahlangananga. Kulabanye abasemazweni, kulabanye abaseGoli, ogogo sebegcina abazukulu kukanti ngapha vele akula mali yokuthi laba abantu baphile impilo epheleleyo ngaleyo ndlela nxa kuyukuthi kulokuxabana akusela umuntu omdala ukukhuza umuntu ongubaba kumbe ubabakazi ongalandwa ngumalukazana ayekuthi ukuthi hayi siyahluphana ngalolu daba usecine siyatshela abangane bakhe mhlawumbe bamtshelele eceleni kumbe laye ubaba aqine siyatshela abangane bakhe bamtshele bethi hayi umfazi lo uyadelela mchaye ucine sokusiba nzima ngakho ke noma umnotho welizwe ukunzima la kudala bekukhona kodwa ifamily structure mhlawumbe lensonto le culture yethu bikhona ukuthi incedise ukuthi imuli zihlale zibambene.
Yes, yakuzwa kakhulu ungayikhatshana bhebhe ubambe khonapho kwenzani ke silenkinga locingo uma sise memory kachamba bese ngele cingweni blessing kodwa kukhanya ngani ucingo lakhe luyakhathaza sibili sizambuyelela sizuthi uyathini.
For those of you who are just joining us tonight on Studio 7 Live Talk, we are talking about gender violence. Of course, this is still a problem in Zimbabwe, and the world is commemorating what is called 16 days of activism to at least raise awareness to make sure that gender violence becomes a thing of the past. And there have been many reports of women being killed. And of course, there are several remedies, Gibbs, if there are problems in the family. Long back, they were the tetes udadewethu.
Yeah, umalume ubabakazi no kuthiwa ubabakazi uanti ubabakazi.
So you could go to your aunt or vatete to try and reconcile. And of course, these days, sometimes it's good that you can go to the police if there are incidents of gender-based violence, because it progresses until we hear of these cases of murder, which really is something that is problematic. Gibbs.
Yeah. Silomlaleli lapha ke umnumzana Moken Dube osebutswana. Baba Dube ungawutshona njani?
Ayisiyatshona lishona njani baba Dube?
Hayi mbijalo kunjani khona bebutswana?
Hayi kusachisa alikani kangaka izulu.
Yeah, so ngapse Habroni kumbe use Francistown.
Hayi ngiseduze le Habroni eMolepululi.
Siyakubona ke baba. Yeah, sikhuluma ngodaba lolu ole gender violence kumbe ngithi ukhahlamezo kwabomama. Kambe ungathini khonapho?
Ukukhathameza kwabomama akukhona kuvamile kakhulu kithi thina abantu ngathi lapha eAfrika ngingazi njengoba mina ngingaphumela ikhatshana but engikubonayo lapha eduze lakho lapha engikhona elizweni leli eBotswana lasekhaya ngibona nje kufana into engicabangayo lami nje ukuthi ngabe kuyenzeka ukuthi abantu siphungule kakhulu into ezinjenge substance abuse ngoba ngokubona kwami ngicabanga ukuthi i-substance abuse ngathi kumbe utshwala into ezinjalo abantu ungananzelela isikhathi esiningi abantu abatholakala sebehlukumeza abantu abangomama kumbe abantu abangabantwana isikhathi esiningi babe benathile kumbe kube lento ezinjalo so ngingazi ngama-structures akhona into ezinjenge-church kunganceda kakhulu ukuthi abafundisi labanye abanjalo kube lama-workshops nje afundisa abantu abangobaba kumbe kube lama-organization angacreata kumbe singathi lapha kuleli lizwe ngizwebele ethiwa yi-men's sector lapha amadoda ahlangana khona befundisana nje ngendlela okumele abantu abathetheneyo baphile ngayo so mbona ngani kumbe lakithi ekhaya ngabe kuyenza ukuthi sibe lama-structures anjengalawo kunganceda kakhulu ngoba into ze-violence zikhona kakhulu la kulwaleli lize ngilo ngiyazibona zisenzakala la ekhaya ngathi siyazikhona so angazi ukuthi kumbe kwenziwa yihluphe njengoba umamabhebhe kwakhuluma laphana ukuthi le mali kumbe yiyo sidala ukuthi abantu babe lolaka kodwa ngicabanga ukuthi isonto kumbe ngathi i-church inganceda kakhulu ukubana iphungule uhlupho lwalo lesilalo ngoba luhlupho olukhulu kakhulu xa ukhangele ebantwini abathetheneyo ngoba abantwana bazabe khalela ukuthi ubaba uyeza inyanga kumbe iphelile bakhalela ukuthi ubaba uyabuya kuzadliwe ekhaya ubaba usenathile usebuya akalavini imali ukuthi ayenze i-stop gap lapha na sokumele ukuthi afike lapha ngolaka umama ngathi imali sebechaya umama abantwana labo sebekhala so akusabi mnandi endlini yikho ngithi mhlawumbe into ze-economy lezi zingani zicontributa kakhulu ku-social kuma-social issues affectayo thina ikakhulu abantu abamnyama ngizakhuluma kakhulu ngathi thina abantu abamnyama ngoba ngibona ngathi okwenzakala kakhulu ngakithi thina ebantwini abamnyama
hayi khanya kuvele kukhona indawo eziningi la ngapha lakho kukhona baba Dube kodwa hayi sibongile kakhulu ngamazwi akho ahlakaniphileyo ungadinela kusasa uphenduke njalo kulolu hlelo baba.
Hayi ngiyabonga ngicela ukuthi kuphela abantu kababuyele esintwini babale kakhulu njalo leBhayibheli ngoba iBhayibheli lilo elingani liyanqanda abantu libaletha ukubana bazwisise ukuthi baphile kanjani labanye so ngibona ngani khona kuthana lokuphungula nje substance ngibona ngani kunganceda kakhulu.
Yes, siyakuzwa kakhulu ke mnumzana Dube sibongile kakhulu. Ubona abantwana.
Hayi siyabonga ba.
So Mr. Dube is raising so many issues here. One of them is substance abuse. He says the majority of men beat up their wives because they'll be drunk, literally. And he says because of beer and drugs. Then he says, this is prevalent among married people in most cases. And then he says people should go back to the basics, There's a basic way of living that we can actually, get around the issue of domestic violence.
Well, of course, there's still, debate as to where do people tend to. Some say they can go to their pastors, but we have also had incidents where pastors abuse their congregates, especially women who go to report these acts of violence. And the same has also been said about the police. That some of them actually end up abusing the victims of gender-based violence. But people should not keep quiet. That's what we urge women to do. They should talk about it because it actually escalates. This is where you end up having someone killed. It's simply because it starts as something that one feels is, simple as... But later on escalates. It can be verbal abuse, turns to physical abuse, and then all those things happen. And what is this 16 days of action campaign? The reason is that 1 in 3 women worldwide faces abuse, violence, and rape every day. In no country of the world are women free from this fear and terror. And the 16 Days campaign is an international campaign that started in 1991. Since then, over 5,179 groups in 187 countries have taken part. And of course, the 16 Days campaign is successful because of the support of people in local communities and organizations nationwide, raising more awareness of the issue of domestic violence in our communities. Each year, the 16 Days of Action run from 25th November, which is today, which is the United Nations International Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women, to 10th December, which is the Human Rights Day. The campaign spans these 16 days in order to highlight the link between violence against women and human rights. So that explains why it runs from November 25 to December 10, which is the International Day of Human Rights. Tinenge tine mtereri wedu mumwe pana pa Mkoma Moses Makadi. Mkoma Moses Makadi yenyu tipewo pfungwa dzenyu panyaya yekushungurudzwa kwemadzimai nevanasikana. Muri kundinzwa ere Mkoma Moses? Mkoma Moses? Muri kundinzwa ere? Taurisa henyu tinzwanana tisinyatso kunzwai. tiri kutaura nenyaya yemhirizhonga kumadzimai nemwanasikana, muri kuiona sei, ringagadziriswe sei dambudziko iri? Halo mkoma Moses? Okay, mkoma Moses regetedze kufondera zvakare, nhare yenyu haisi kunzwika zvakanaka. Tinotenda, give.
Yeah, let's get back to Mrs. Pepe. Are you still on the line? Hello, Mrs. Pepe.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, thank you very much. So, Mrs. Pepe, you know, there are some women that don't report cases of abuse to the police. Why?
Like I said, some of the economic situations for some women who are not financially independent, they are still dependent on their husbands. They are thinking of what the future holds. Who will I leave my children with? Will I allow another woman to come and take care of them since I cannot afford to live with them? So they won't report that case, one. Secondly, if they do go and report it, at times the police start to ask them, what is the cause of your grievance? What did you do to this man for him to beat you up? Do you think it's wise to keep him in jail and not have a source of livelihood? They actually discourage some women from reporting those cases. And for some, it's a matter of their dignity. They are thinking, what will the community say? Bring shame to my family, bring shame to my husband, bring shame to the name of the family. All those things weigh upon a woman. The cultural burdens, the patriarchal society that demands that a woman is subjective, no matter what she goes through. All those things weigh upon a woman.
Thank you very much and stay on the line. Yes, ngathi ke sesilobaba secingweni lapha. Mnumzana uJabalala. Baba Jabalala, ungawutshona njani?
Sawubona Dusi.
Isabona Mshengu kunjani?
Ya phela ungathi ushona njani sike sabona nekuseni. Umuntu uthiwa sawubona mawamgcina kudala.
Sawubona ndati.
Yebo. Ya ngithi nami ke mphawule kulolu hlelo. Yabona ukuthi ngesintu bathi sisemanzi. Sonke siyakwazi lokho esintwini. Yabona ukuthi umuntu wesifazane uyashaya noma ngabe ingane ungahlele kuyilaya nje inabo 2 years. Masithi 3 4 5 uzothi mawuyifaka usazi vele ishwaqe uzuthi hey qale ngani ifuze bani. So mina ngithi emadodeni ukuthi ushaya umuntu wesifazane akulungile nakhona. Kodwa nakhona abantu besifazana abanye sebesebenzisa amalungelo songani into efike namhlanje umuntu uzothi nami nginelungelo lokwenza kanje indodana isitshela ukuthi phela mina ngalobola so ikumele ngenze noma yini engiyenzayo yabo. Kodwa ke okusalayo ukuthi ilungelo libe khona kodwa alinga abuswa nanokuthi nawe ndoda unga abuse amandla ukuthi ngoba mina ngiyinhloko yomuzi angishaya umfazi angathi ushaya ingane ushaya ngomlomo nje nikhulume nizwane. Kusuka lapho mawusufaka umuntu isandla kusho ukuthi hayi cha usumenza umuntu wakho phela usungathi wamthenga kanti awumthenga. Kanti nabo mama nawo bangasebenzisa amalungelo ukuthi nami nginelungelo lokwenza nje ama ufike ebusuku nami ngifike ebusuku ofike kuqala kapheke naye ngoba sinamalungelo cha.
Kodwa kuvame kangakanani lapho khonapho ukahlamezwa ngoba mama?
Yabona lapha ngesizwe bathi insakathi zivukela lokhu ngiyibaba into ehlala yenzeka nje mihla namalanga. Yabona lapha sewungathi nje kuyimpilo ukuthi nje ngaphandle ukuthi umuntu ahlukunyezwe nje hayi akwenzi khona manje bekunomunye usisi igeli nje ibishaya ingane igcina ingane yomkhahlela izimshaya ingane intombi yakho ishonile so ingane leyo abeshaya so sazoye court so egcina ingane kodwa ayishaya ngathi ushaya inja azayikhahlele kuphuma
bamba khonapho Mshengu ungayikatshana bamba khonapho siyabuya kwe khonapho ungayikatshana lo mama Pepe ingayikatshana
na mkoma Louis ramba zvenyu muri parunare please mkoma Louis do stay on the line for our radio listeners. We are streaming live. Go to www.voazimbabwe.com and press on LiveTalk. This is Blessing Zulu.
And I'm Gibbs Dube saying stay tuned to Zimbabwe.
for those of you who are just joining us, good evening, and this is Studio 7 Live Talk. And tonight on Live Talk, we are talking about gender violence.
If you wish to join the show right now, phone us directly at this number 001-202-619-2077. Ye, phone katesi spoken is Rugandaba. Inombolo 202 kumbe ngase kuthi 001-202-619-2077. Ye, phone sikhulumeni bantu. Ye besilo jabula lapha ecingweni. Ye blessing. Baba Mshengu sesiphendukile njalo. Akuqedise khona phakathi ukutsho ukuthi ke akumelanga ukuthi umama labo bangani balwisana lamadoda lawa akumelanga azibona ngana phezulu.
Uyabona mfakaduke iqiniso lihle njengoba bengisho ukuthi amalungelo abakhona yabona ukuthi nje amalungelo athe efika abantu besifazane bakwangathi imane ebezulwini abanye yachitha imizi lawo malungelo kodwa singasho ukuthi mahle wona kodwa ke akangasetshenziswa ngendlela edluleyo agcine thumuza uthola ukuthi omunye umuntu uzothi baba ufike kuqala pheka amtshele kanti ke kufana ukuthi nayo indoda izicabanga ukuthi hayi cha ngale kwelungelo omunye wama engakashayisi mina sengishayisela ukuthi ngibe ngipheka maku ukuthi uyakwazi nawe into zemaseko lezi kodwa mawungazi nawe nje kusho ukuthi uzozama enye plan nakhona nawo amadoda angathi ngoba mina ngiyinhloko yomuzi sokufanele ukuthi ngibe inkunzi enempondo ehlaba sonke isibaya cha akunjalo ngoba phela umthetho nawo suyaqina nje uyafakwa ejele nje kodwa lokhana kwamakhufikazi ukuthi umuntu athi namhlanje ucansi ngifuni indoda ethi phela ngakhipha bese ukuthi uyovula icala hayi cha uyabona lokho nalokho abantu besifazana abayiyeke lento ngoba ngamanye amatamatisi lawa othando uyabona into sokanti ukuthi umuntu angathi hayi namhlanje angifuni omunye athi awufuni ngoba kwenze njalo kusho ukuthi usuyajola phela cha akunjalo yabo so elokulamela ukugcinela ukuthi hayi cha madoda asingashayane bafazi asikhulumeni ngomlomo bomama nani ningaculi iculo lokuthi ilungelo lami mina lokwenze nje singakhohle ukuthi salo uyabona igama lokuthi kulobola balenza nje balibumba kahle kodwa empeleni lebiza ukuthi wathenga manje amadoda agcina selikhipha lelathi phela ngakuthenga wena masokukubi ngakuthenga phela wena akasasho ukuthi ngakulobola ngoba ilobolo lichaza lokho ngoba mase siyolobola kuthiwa uyothenga ubuhlobo yabo
hayi siyabonga ke Jabalala ngibona ngizani uyichayile sibili indaba yethu kuhle kakhulu ungadinela kusasa uphenduke phela ungasikhohle
Ngibonge kakhulu niphile nani ukuthi nje nani ninokungisekele ningangifoneli nje esikhathini esiningi angazi ukuthi ngisuka nje mhlawumbe ukuthiwa ngikhetha ipele emasini
hayi
ngikhethe nemkhaza
akunjalo Jabalala siza kudinga futhi xa ungazokuthiwa kule topic ethize
ande lapho kusemini lo nomsuku nosuku lohleke thina kusebusuku sithi intamba enhle kithi
hayi kulungile sibongile kakhulu baba
ngiyabonga nami
yes so Mr. Jabalala is raising a lot of issues very interesting So he says men should not abuse their powers, Some men, he says, they use the word lobola to actually hide behind that kind of abuse. So, okay, I bought you. You are my property. And so I have to use you the way I want. But he says, no, it shouldn't be the case. If a woman says no today when we talk of bedroom issues, a no should be a no, but it should be negotiated. You see what I mean? Yeah. Then when it comes to, some kind of women, he says, some use the word gender for other activities. Like if a man, let's say, comes late home, the woman will say, okay, I'm coming late too tomorrow. He says that doesn't work at the end of the day. So people should coexist in a way that matters, to kids and the other relatives.
Yeah. Mrs. Bebe, your comment on that?
I think what the gentleman raises is very true because if you don't understand a concept, you tend to run away with it and use it as an excuse for everything, even things that it's not supposed to be used for. But from my understanding, marriage is an institution of compromise, an institution of respect. That's why the Bible also says that the two shall become one flesh. That means that you are equal. You become one. and you cannot inflict harm on someone that is on your own body, on yourself, and you cannot do something that is disrespectful or brings disrespect on your own person. Therefore, when a woman disrespects her husband, it means that she's doing damage to herself. And when the husband causes violence on the wife, he's also harming himself. So there is a need for mutual respect, and they need to remember that the two have become one, and therefore they need to act in unison, not one saying these are my rights and someone saying I'm demanding my respect, as if marriage is a separate entity where one does their own thing and the other one their own, and they only meet in the bedroom when they want to enjoy that union.
Hey. But then when somebody says today no, and then the man will say, okay, which means you are getting something somewhere. So how do you work around that kind of issue, Mrs. Pepe?
Like I'm saying, it is a mutual relationship, and it is made of compromises. No marriage is the same. Every marriage is different. I cannot say because my friend's husband agrees that one day they can go without, I can come and say I also don't want when I don't want. So it also depends on the kind of rules that you're following. I follow a Christian method in my marriage, and the manual that I follow, which is the Bible, says that my body belongs to my husband and my husband's body belongs to me. So when I want whatever I want from him, he has to give to me. In a similar way, I have to give myself to him. But like I'm saying, marriages are different. Some will follow the cultural way where the man will impose himself on the woman. In that, the law will come into play and say, if you have abused her, you have raped her. It's called marital rape. So we need to know these situations so that we avoid violating the legal aspects. Also, not violating those the structures that you are saying we are living by. So for me, it's a matter of the kind of lifestyle that you are living in your marriage, and also the most important thing that should cut across all marriages, whether cultural, Christian, whatever religion, should be that mutual respect. And communication.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Bebe. Do stay on the line. For those of you who are just joining us, we are talking about the 16 days campaign to end gender-based violence. And what are the aims of this campaign? Number one, increase women's safety. Number two, highlighting the nature and prevalence of violence against women. Number three, raising awareness of violence against women as a human rights issue. Number four, showing solidarity among women around the world. Number five, promoting women's leadership. Number six, lobbying governments. And number seven, strengthening local work to tackle violence against women. And turning to Zimbabwe, a study by the Ministry of Women's Affairs, Gender and Community Development in conjunction with Gender Links has revealed shocking statistics that conclude that at least 68%, 68% of women in Zimbabwe have suffered from gender-based violence perpetrated by men. These are very worrying statistics indeed, Gibbs. Tinemwe mtereri wedu Mkoma Louis ku Mozambique. Makadi? Mkoma Louis?
Hello, blessing, hello?
Tiri kukunzwa. Muri kuti kudii nenyaya yekushungurudzwa kwemadzimai nevanasikana?
Yeah, blessing, munofana hamusi kuclarifya kuti kushungurudzwa kwacho sexual abuse here kana kurohwa kwevakadzi nevasikana.
Zvese pane iyo kubata vana chibharo, kurova madzimai, pane iya yatinoti emotional abuse yekungotuka madzimai, ndo zvatiri kutaura nezvazvo, ingave political violence, zvese.
Alright, regandi tange ndichiti firstly ku rape case, the man is to blame. No blame amurume papo. And toenda pa violence yekuti vanhu vanorovana mumba murume nemukadzi, we have to blame both two parties, murume kana kuti mukadzi, because pane situation yekuti vakadzi anotsurwa nemurume kuti zvauri kuita hazvina kunaka, womudaira dhadha wei, murume wogumbuka achiti ndiye akaroora mukadzi, popedzera kuti murume worova mukadzi womukuwadza. That is also a violence. Saka kuti tipedze violence, tinofana kuti both parties vakazi kana kuti varume tozvibata especially kana pakutaura.
Asi kana muchiti pakaitwa zvekurowana izvi mukoma Louis mbatoti tinoti baba naamai vese tingablame here apa amai apa hazvisi here zvekuti kana pasvika pakadaro kana uri murume unobuda hako umbofamba pane kutanga kuda kuita zvemhirizhonga?
Ndosaka ndati tinofana kuzvibata tese vana baba navana amai kuti tiavoid violence. Tikati tida kublema varume chete pagender violence hapana solution, because ukada kutasati vamwe vakazi nema-equal rights haapo, they also abuse men. But kuti murume azobuda pachena achitaura kuti ndaabhiswa nemukazi haakwanisi nenyaya yekuti anenge akunyara pamberi pavamwe varume kana vakazi achinzi aabhiswa nemukazi through the way mukazi yaanotaura naye kumurume. Uri kunzwisisa blessing?
Aiwa, tiri kupanzwisisa.
Saka ndosaka ndiri kuti tipedze violence, isusu varume nevakazi tinofana kuresolve any problem through dialogue, kutaurirana. Anenge atadza ngaazvise pasi okumbirira ruregerero, anenge atadziwawo okwanisawo kuregererawo anenge amutadzira.
Aiwa, tinotenda zvikuru mukoma Louis nekupinda muchirongwa chedu.
Ndatenda blessing.
Mrs. Bebe, are you on the line? Mrs. Bebe?
Yes, I'm around.
Yes, Louis here, one of our callers, was saying that there are actually some men who are abused by women. It's just that they don't go out there and talk about it because it is something that society will frown upon. Is it true?
Yes, it's very true. It's unfortunate that, like I said, we live in a patriarchal society where the man is supposed to exude a certain character and the woman also is supposed to perform certain roles. And when a man is beaten by a woman or is abused by a woman, it is difficult for a man to come out. And when he does come out, I'm sure in some cases, especially in the police, at the police station, if the police can discourage women from reporting cases of violence. What more if a man comes to report a case of domestic violence? Obviously, he would be laughed at, he might be ridiculed, and this may even cause him to be the laughing stock and make it even worse for him. So some men just choose to keep quiet. Some use other methods, maybe the traditional methods. I have read in some papers where men will actually be brave enough to come out, but then it is not so easy for the men to face the fact that they are being abused by a woman.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Bebe. But of course, we hope that with the establishment of the so-called victims-friendly courts, the police, and I think the police also have a victim-friendly unit, they will be able to make sure that the victims are not further abused, so to speak, when they or tortured when they go and report cases of abuse at the police station. I think there is such a unit, especially in Zimbabwe, to encourage people to go and report. Yes. Because like what Mrs. Bebe is saying, you know, if you go there and, you know, the police officers are not that cooperative. You say, my wife has beaten me up. They start laughing. You are not, men are not encouraged to go and report. And usually this will lead to disasters, you know.
Yeah, let's hear from Patrick in Ndebele. Usizo ukuthi kambe mnumzana Patrick ungaunjani baba? Baba Patrick unjani? Yeah, bajana bantwana. Yeah, siqalela inkulumo yethu siba ukuthi gaga ngamafitshane siqede. Yeah, ungathini ngakhona ukuthi bakhona baba phela ukuthi abasukela omama lapha.
akuvukele kusena kulande sibile pretender yena ukuzokulwa wena ungali njengakhona ukuthi abanye obaba bagcina beze bachaye ngamadoda uzithola ukuthi kuwe kwesinye isikhathi ngomdefender ngamandla njengendoda umama onjana ekembuza ukuthi uphathe kanjani egumeni
ubamba khona lapho kancane Mrs Bebe inkosikazi Bebe pendula mbijana khona lapho mama
Yeah, hayi ngiyamuzwa ubaba and kuyatholakala khona okukhulumayo kodwa mina omunye umbuzo engilawo ukuthi khona kanti kumele kube kukhona yini obusayo njengoba esisho ukuthi balutshwana omama bangafuni ukubusa emzini leyo kanti kumele babuswe bona ngobaba omama kumbe babuso obaba akumelanga ukuthi nje bahlale belingana kube ngumuntu lomkakhe bethandana bekhulumisana bezisisana ngendlela abaphila ngayo mbona ngani khona ukuthi khona kumele kube lokubusana yikho lapho kube khona inkinga ngoba vele i-gender based violence is a power struggle. It's about who has power over who. Ngubani olamandla ukuthi ayethusele omunye kwezemali, ngubani olamandla emalini, ngubani olamandla engqondweni psychologically, ngubani olamandla emzimbeni ukuthi achaye omunye. Yikho khona esikudinga ukuthi qedwe ukuthi kungabi khona ozathi mina ngilamandla ngakho ngenza khahlameza lo ngisebenzisa amandla ami kulokho.
Siyawuzwa kakhulu ke.
Hayi khona lapho nje ngingakubeka kancane Bebe. Lapha indaba engizama ukuyibeka ungayizwisisa mama. Yikuthi ekhaya vele kuthi ubaba nguyikhanda. Ukuba likhanda kwakhe kunjengokuthi ubaba nxa ungathola ukuthi uyabeka umthetho. Umama uthi fithe athi emntwaneni ungenzi lokho kababa wakho yenza lokho kwamengutshela khona. Phambi kokuba wena ungubaba ungophethe imithetho yonke umama nxa esebuya ngaleyani indlela wakhane ekhaya
sesikuzwile kakhulu ke mnumzana Patrick ulaleleke uza kuphendula sike sizama ukuthi sibeke kube ngiceke ukuthi kathi ukhuluma ngani so here blessing what Mr Patrick is saying is raising very serious issues. He says there are some women who literally want to control men and some of these women end up having boyfriends and then that person is a wife at the same time. So at times that woman leaves home, you know. When she leaves home, she comes back again and claims her right to be the wife. But at the end of the day, he says, this becomes a problem. Because anything that you say as a man there, she doesn't listen to all those kind of things. So she says, this is serious abuse, you know, very serious. And then Pepe actually responded by saying that, you know, the problem of gender violence revolves on power, one. Secondly, on money. Three, on the physiology of somebody. If you are physically fit and you are blessing, you are gymming 3 times a day, you can tell you say, no, look, I'll beat you up, you know, because of your strength. So she says these are issues that become problematic. But Patrick insisted that in a home, you know, you're supposed to have a head of a family. It's like, you know, a snake without a head. It dies, right? It's dead already. Very controversial at times.
Interesting. Regard story mumtereri mkomatonde makadi. Mkomatonde?
Murundi zare ngoma blessing.
Ndikukunzwa itaurisa henyu.
Ndinofara mandi baba onasi. Ndiri kuti my baby neuyu Patrick apedza kutaura wataura zvakanakisisa. Nhau yedu yakafanana kuti mumba tinofanira kuimbana uye tichikudzana mukadzi nemurume. Chirongwa chana maibhebhe kuti chifambirire mberi chekuti tinzwanane nenyaya yegender and activism against women ndeyekuti vanofanira kutora madzimai ari mumba wasatore madzimai akabuda mumba wachivatungamirisa zvirongwa zvekampeini. Ndochekutanga. Chechipiri ndechekuti isusu varume hatisi mabhinya, tinofanira kugara nevakadzi vedu zvakanaka mumba. Asi kana takange tiri kugara mumba zvakanaka, mumusoro wemba pamba ndini baba, handigari ndichidzvanyirira mukadzi wangu kana mhuri yangu, kwete tinogara takasununguka. Vakadzi vese vari muindastiri vari kusevenza ngavasiyane nekitsika tuya mukomablessing pekuti nhasi uri pabasa unenge uchitosevenza nemukadzi wangu ipapapo, wozofonera mukadzi wangu akumba chiti how are you doing, how was your day. Izvozvo zvinomutsa boboto mumba, asi tataridze ukama hwekusevenza bedzi paunhu hwedu zvinotaridza kunge pane zvimwe zvinhu ipo pasina blessing. Saka izvozvo madzimai ngaazvitarise. Vakadzi vakakomblena estate murume afa zvakaita sei, tikazviona isusu varume tikwete zvaitwa nevakuru kudhara tsika yekuti mukadzi ngaende kumushanda kwasira zvinhu izvi, ivo vanhu venga vakagara vachisevedza nemurume wake zvakanaka. Aiwa, hazvina kunaka. Vakadzi ngavapiwe kodzero dzekuti vasare neestate nezvese nemhuri yavo, ipapo 100% tiri tese. Asi mukadzi ngaadzidze nekuteereresa mumba achikudza zvambotara ngomana yekubotswana uyowo mumba. Mukadzi ngaateerere murume wake. Sara aiti kuna Abrahama, ishe wangu akanga asiri ishe wake, kwaakukudza chete. Saka izvozvo maibhebhe ngwanyasozviongororesa izvozvo zvikuru, vasatore vakadzi vakabuda mudzimba vachivatungamirisa nyaya yekuti mudzimba mugare zvakanaka. Ndopedzisira ndichiti pari kunzi mapurisa haatori nyaya idzi sekwadzo zvakanaka. Pane tumwe tumutemo tunodhivhelopwa nevakadzi vachitaura zvekodzero, zvinoonekwa kuti mumagariro edu kana kunyange kunogara kunyika yesirengi yakaita sei hazviwanike uye hazviumbike. Saka ipapo manje ndopanoita kuti mapurisa ambonyatsokutsvagurira kuziva kuti zvii zvambonyatsokonzera, nokuti vamwe vakadzi vanongoimba vachiti tine kodzero, ndikakudai nhasi ndinokusungisa. Ndodambudziko riri ipapo. Asi pakugara kwedu nekumwe kwedu kakadai, aiwa varume ngative social vakadzi vedu hadzisi mumi. Mukadzi kana akanga achindida tichigara zvakanaka, aiwa hapana takamboipa. Ndinozva kuti maibhebhe mudi wangu ariko zvakadai ndichitovatenda tumasurprise. Handatenda ngomabwezi.
Aiwa, tinotenda zvikuru. Mkoma Tonde is raising a number of issues. One of the issues is, there's this belief in men that women who talk about issue of gender balance and stuff like that are women who are not married. So he's saying this issue of gender violence must be addressed by women who are married. Of course, I differ. I agree to disagree with him on that one. I mean, violence is just violence, and the issue of respecting women's rights, it's irregardless of whether they are married or not. That is immaterial and irrelevant. I think women should be respected, period. And then he also raises another issue that it is important for women and men, husband and wife, to have mutual respect, which he says will actually ensure that there is no violence. He also urged men not to beat up their wives, saying this is not good. Men should not use brute force, but instead they should be engaging women. And he is also saying that, this issue of working married women is a cause for concern, because there are certain bosses or some workmates who will be calling your wife or anybody after work, after working hours. He's saying that this also brings a lot of tension in the family.
Now, we would like you to respond to those issues, Mrs. Pepe, but before you do that, let's add on one more issue. There's this issue of radical feminism. We know that it is a concept that is totally outdated, but we believe that it is still being, practiced by some women. And the concept goes like, you have to do away with men, you do not respect them, they are oppressors. The floor is yours, Mrs. Pepe. Go ahead.
You are putting me on the spot there, Mr. Gibbs. But I believe that in any environment, we need each other. We cannot, for example, get rid of all species of rats or all cockroaches and think that we have solved the problem, because those things are needed in the ecosystem. It's the balance of nature. We can never say we don't want men, because we need them to procreate. And God put us both on earth to be able to multiply and fill the earth. So honestly, that is another school of thought which I cannot dispute. Maybe they've done studies and they believe that is the best way to survive without men. They've had the worst of men, so they want to live without them. But personally, because I am a woman and sons are born of women, I believe that we need men around, because they are our sons, they are our fathers and our brothers. Coming to the issue of married women being the only ones to talk about gender violence, I think that the problem is that we have approached gender-based violence from a relationship and marital status angle. Gender-based violence takes place between men and women. It can be men violating women, for example, men in the streets stripping women because they are dressed a certain way. That is gender-based violence. Because she is a woman, she is supposed to dress a certain way. Why? Why can she not have the power to choose what to wear as much as men have the power to choose what to wear? That is our bone of contention. It is not just about women that are in homes. It is also about my daughter at school being called names because she has made certain choices about how to wear her hair, or whether to put red lipstick or brown lipstick, or not wear lipstick at all. So our point is there shouldn't be any violence against a man because he is a man, or against a woman because she's a woman. We should be able to live and accept our choices. And if our laws provide other channels to dispute the way we violate each other's rights, we should use those channels. For example, if there's a law that says women shouldn't wear skirts that are 6 inches and below, let us use the legal route. Let's not violate her rights by stripping her and beating her up in public, because that way we are behaving like a barbaric society.
Thank you so much. Let's quickly read some messages on our WhatsApp app. First, we have Patricia, who says, I think what they did is very good because women were being abused, but now I think the number of abused women will be reduced. Of course, Patricia is talking about the 16 days of gender activism. Like he says, gender violence is on the increase, but now it is confusing because women are also abusing men. So every part needs genuine counseling when getting married or even in the course of marriage. Tatenda says it seems that the law enforcers are not serious on this issue, as in some cases you see them giving tips to those who have committed such acts of violence. The most affected are the rural women. There is need to intensify gender-based awareness in the rural areas. There are high rates of women murdered, and of course these were reported, and there's also issues of sexual abuse, etc. This is from Vumani Ndlovu, coordinator, Rural Communities Empowerment Trust. I think we should be getting in touch with Vumani Gibbs to talk about these issues. Then Takudzwa says women should just dress properly and stop manipulating women's rights acts unnecessarily. The touts have no problem reminding women to dress decently on bus terminuses. Activism against gender violence, for me, it is a good initiative, especially for us men. We should be men enough to protect our female counterparts, our mothers, sisters, and daughters. These perpetrators of gender-based violence should be done away with. Enough is enough. Let us be brothers in arms. Joseph says activism against gender-based violence, for me, is a good initiative. Unfortunately, time is not our best ally, Gibbs, and we have to end it there. But it's an interesting topic, which we think the Women's Roundtable will pick up on Thursday and discuss it further. But we want to take this opportunity to thank our guest this evening, Mrs. Busisiwe Bebe. Mrs. Bebe, thank you for joining us. And of course, we also want to thank our callers and also our listeners and of course our team behind the scenes, our engineers and producers. This is Blessing Zulu.
And I'm Gibbs Dube. Good night.